All right, welcome everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started now. I want to start on time and end on time as always. Well, listen, first and foremost, I want to thank you for attending. We've had a series of webinars. We try to do them at least monthly here at Scanco across various different topics. And I had the honor last year of doing our last webinar of the year. So it was only fitting that I get to do this one as well. So last year we did, I think, on printing and barcoding and that sort of thing. Of how to kind of get back to basics of barcoding and implementation for printing. So now we've kind of covered the full gamut this year. We'll do a recap in a second, but we're going to focus on advanced shipping and what that really means. There's a million different ways to ship, and I think the title originally was to ship faster, right? For me, it's about shipping smarter, not working harder, and fast to me is a relative term. The quicker we're able to do things more efficiently and accurately, speed then kind of follows suit, right? But if we're having to go back and constantly correct mistakes that are being made by, manual processes, et cetera, then it's not so quick, is it? So that's why we're looking at automating and bringing on a lot of our advanced shipping functionality that we have here at Scanco. So want to touch base on a couple of different things. So first and foremost, want to thank everyone for attending, not only our partners, but our customers, and for your constant support of Scanco. Without any of you, we would not be where we are today as an organization. So we're going to be kind of covering a few things, and I apologize in advance. My marketing team asked that I sprinkle in a few dad jokes that I'm known for. So if I have a horrible sense of humor, so feel free to chuckle along if you'd like. It's all right. I will take pity laughs. So the agenda for today of our 30-minute session, like we try to do these lunch and learns and keep them light and efficient. We're going to 30,000-foot view on everything. Of course, as always, if anything is additional needed, you have questions, or we need to dig deeper into anything that we discuss, you always have my ability to contact me, and we'll discuss things further. Just a quick recap on Ross at Scanco here. I've been with Scanco about 10 years now going on here, which makes me a senior account manager. I guess it sounded better than old person sales account manager. So I'm one of the senior account managers here at Scanco. And today we're going to be focusing on 7 areas. First is we're going to recap 2021 as an organization, what we've done, where we've gone, et cetera. And then from the advanced shipping perspective, we're going to kind of cover what we've been hearing across the industry as a whole. And then what have you, our customers and partners, been asking of Scanco. We're going to cover about Scanco PSG, and we're going to discuss a little bit about that. Then we're going to talk about functionality. We're going to get into a brief preview and then Q&A. And I do recommend hanging out at the very end because I do have something fun for you all at the very end of this. So moving on, quick recap of 2021. Well, as I like to call 2021, the hangover from 2020. Dad joke number 1. So 2021, let's backtrack real quick. 2020 gave Scanco, and I think any organization, our partners, our customers, et cetera, it was like drinking out of a fire hose for that period of time. But it also kind of gave us, as we transition to 2021, a deeper perspective of how we as an organization can grow and change and take care of all of you much better. So one of the visions of Tess and Sean, or us who still own the company, I've been with them since they took over the company 10 years ago, is to really, have Scanco, become hashtag the new Scanco, right? So with that, we brought on some new faces. So right before COVID hit, we brought on Wade Topkin, our COO, Cody Smith, who you guys know very well, transitioned over to our VP of sales. And then some new faces we brought on, Andy Nunez, who's been in the channel quite a long time now, came on as our CEO. And with that, he wanted to bring up and bolster some of our core teams. And one of that we've been hearing always is support, right? We need to support our products, support our customers, support our partners much better. So Sharon Sowers has been in the industry quite some time now in various different organizations. And so we're lucky to bring her aboard, and she's our director of customer experience. So she runs our entire support staff and oversees all of their day-to-day operations. And then to best take care of our partners and alliances and help grow that and bolster that, we brought on Andrew Neal. Andrew is now taken on the director of that. Christy Neal, yes, there is a relation. So not only quick fun fact, not only is Scanco a software company, but we are also a matchmaking company. So Christy Neal, his now wife, is now our director of professional services. So we really wanted to kind of bring on some different buckets within our organization to best take care of all of you. And with all that, we've also grown our team quite a bit. We've grown our support staff and our development staff by 2 to 3-fold. So that's helped us do a lot of different things. So let's recap what we've brought to the table this year. So we're always trying to bring something new to each one of these meetings that we have and these webinars. So we recently announced our Production Management Plus. So as you know, quick recap, Scanco was hired or brought on to develop production management for Sage, to Sage's role, to Sage's specs. They have now taken over support, training, everything of that. However, there were some pieces missing that we've heard. And so we really took a lot of that to heart. We brought on PM Plus, which is really tying that work orders and sales order functionality together. So we're releasing that here very shortly. We brought on something we've looked at for a while now, is a partnership with our credit card payment processing with our Scanco sales product. So not only can you invoice on the field, but now we're about to launch, which we announced recently, a payment integration to collect payments on the field. Compliancy releases. So by bolstering our support staff, by bolstering our development staff, we're now on about a 45-day cycle or so of compliancy releases across all of our product lines, which in the past was unheard of. But now we have the staff to do it. So very grateful for that. And just growth in general. We as an organization have grown to fit the needs of the growing customer base and partner base that we have. So that was just kind of a quick recap of 2021. So what have you guys been asking as an organization? Oh, there we go. What have you guys been asking? So, one of the things that we've been looking at is, can we implement and scale easily, right? How do we do that? So one of the things is with all of our software that we've had from day one is all of our software is very scalable. If our warehouse software, manufacturing software, for instance, it has a whole back end that allows you to control, what is utilized on the floor and by whom, by what. So all this is a very scalable approach. Can we go paperless? How do we do that? So that was one of the big initiatives of, I think, most organizations this past year is can we go paperless? Can we get away from paper? Paper takes too long. It's too messy. So can we do that? Yes, certainly. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Can we prioritize and pre-allocate? That's just huge, right? So, I think now more than ever, with processing orders for customers, we want, you as an organization and we as an organization want to give you that ability is, can you prioritize orders for certain customers ahead of others? And can you pre-allocate, which is basically a hard reservation product, to, account for what's on hand versus what's allocated, so you have the ability to prioritize those shipments 100%. Can we minimize pick and ship times? This is huge. This goes back to, being able to fulfill orders in a timely manner, but also be able to ship them out in a timely manner. Because not only is that helping your customer base, but also a lot of our customers are working with the Walmarts, with the Amazons, with the big box stores of the world. And if those are things that are not on time, that accrues fines over fines over fines. We want to help minimize that. Pick and pack and pick and pack. This is probably one of the biggest questions we get asked more often. Is the then and the and are very, very important. So that kind of goes back to the flexibility of our software, is allowing you to pick, then pack, which is more of like a double scan process where you're pulling items, staging them, and then rescanning them at a later time. Or picking and packing is maybe for small orders you want to get right out the door. And grouping shipments is big too. So that allows for more wave pick activities, et cetera. So you might have one customer that has hundreds of orders that they have, small orders. You want to group those together to make it a more efficient pick. So certainly we have the ability to do that, not a problem. So some of the other things that we've been hearing in the industry too is backorders, or backorders is probably the most used word of this year. Last year it was quarantine, this year it's backorder. So, those are the industry things we've been hearing. A couple of other things we've been hearing lately is we've grown as an organization, and we have all new staff hiring on. Or, maybe we didn't have the best year and now we have a leaner operation. How do we operate with a leaner staff? So we're here to kind of bolster all of those activities and help with that. Especially the back order thing is the biggest thing. I've never seen so many back orders in my entire life. It doesn't matter if you make, potato chips, microchips, it doesn't much matter what you guys make in this organization. You're feeling the strain and pain of back orders. So it used to be in the past that customers would be cool with back order status. Now we will take whatever we can get and then back order the rack. And that goes for not only you fulfilling your customers' needs, but also on the back end for bringing in your customer needs. So one of those things that we kept hearing is that's what we brought on our professional services group is how can we best assist you guys? So one of the big initiatives of this year, and we're bringing into Q1 as well, which we're excited about, is our professional services team. So we're moving away from the quote unquote training of the past and now taking on, as you guys bring on Scanco and as you guys bring on our multi-bin software, manufacturing software, looking at the greater whole and how can we better serve the product to fit your exact needs. So, it's not buying a suit off the rack, it's something custom tailored to fit you. So we have a full service project management team now. And one of the biggest differences from past to now is all of our PSG team is all Sage certified. So if you're aware of the Sage certification, it is a bear. So to get to that point is huge. So we're excited to have them and Christy Neal leading that. Christy's been with us quite some time now. She recently just did the OM training class. So, this is across not just the warehouse, not just the multi-bin, but all the manufacturing pieces to help as well. And that goes back to that, tailored process. So we look at it as, I'll kind of walk you through a day-to-day of a statement for a customer of how we're looking at things, is we're going to go in and look at your current state, how things are today. And this is what we think you could do from there. So it's more current state, future state deliverables. We are doing conference room pilots. That's a big thing too. So allowing you to, have the system on the sandbox and test that out for a while, test it out, help perfect before go live. We are now traveling. So, if your state allows it, great, we will be there. We have that capability. So now we're doing on-site for training and consulting. And then it's not just we, get you up and running and then send you on your way. We actually have after deployment review. So now we have the team members to do that, which is very exciting. So, and that's a continued thing. I'm fielding 3 to 5 calls. This is just me personally, a week of that. A lot of organizations we've been dealing with for years of a company, they've changed hands. They've either growing or all new people on board, and they don't know where to pick up and which end is which. So lean on us to assist you with that. And a couple exciting announcements that we're going to be coming out with in Q1 is, if you're familiar with our Scanco knowledge base, it's a great way for to find information on our product, but we're streamlining that to an actual true LMS system. So as we saw a tidbit of it in an internal company meeting recently. Super excited for this, but basically it's a full training site as you onboard new employees, you get to actually go through a full testing tutorial before you can onboard your customer and or your client or employee out in the warehouse. So super excited to announce that. So a lot of the cool things coming in Q1. So what is some of the functionality of our product? So we have a whole host of different pickings, right? So, we try to simplify the main home screen, which we'll get to in our demo here in a little bit, but we have all kinds of different picking. Now remember, the active picking is pulling items and staging them. So that's a wave, an order, quick, or confirm. Lots of different ways. There's no wrong way or right way to do that. I want to kind of emphasize that right now. It's just a better way to do it based on that transaction. So for us, wave, order, and confirm picking are more of a directed pick functionality, where quick pick functionality might be you have a smaller area set up for quick picks, which is non-directed, where everything's at. You pull them, put them in the box, throw them down the line. We allow for shipping or invoicing. So if you're actually, using Starship and you need the box detail level, you can use the scanners to collect that on the front end and send it back in a Sage, and then Starship picks up right where you leave off. Or if you want to go straight to invoicing, we allow that as well. Grouping orders together for shipping or picking is huge. And then we also allow you to control back orders through some of our functionalities, such as quick batch or our allocations within inside the multi-bin. And then, as I mentioned before, on the back end of Scanco, we have a whole back end for our manufacturing as well, for customized user profiles. These are not Sage profiles. These are completely independent, but it allows you to prioritize and customize each login to fit your employee's needs, whether it's a receiver only or someone that does counting that you're onboarding right now, or you need a full-fledged ship and pick functionality, we allow for that. And then also for a warehouse manager to control it, we allow for the allocation and the assignments of orders from the whole dashboard system. And then, moving on from there, we have packless printing. So it triggers, we have auto packless printing, which basically is triggering the packless within inside the Sage to print automatically to any printer in the network. And then also I mentioned we do, play well in the sandbox with Starship and kind of, begin where they end off. Same thing goes with Mapadoc. We have an integration with Mapadoc that allows for, ASN printing automatically and Mapadoc Power. And so no matter which way you choose or which path you choose, the end result is going to be increased accuracy, delayed shipments, and happy employees and customers. I mean, we've successfully done this with many customers. One in particular in Texas, they have about 5 warehouses. all with a total of almost 400,000 square feet of warehouse space. One warehouse alone, I think, had about 10 to 20,000 bin locations. And before onboarding Scanco, they were all over the place. But by the time they got up and running, they were at a 0.07% discrepancy rate on bin locations and picking functionality when they got fully up and running. So lots of exciting things to talk about that. So let's kind of get into the back end and the preview of the software itself. So as I mentioned, Scanco resides in two places. Our multi-bin software resides directly inside of Sage, so we'll dive there first. And then we'll go on to the actual warehouse side, which sits outside our dashboard system that's just independent of Sage. But again, talks to Sage in real time. That's the whole point of this, is being able to do real-time functionality. So if you ever used our software before, you know that it's real-time with receipts or transfers or physical counts. But we're going to dive deeper into the shipping functionality. So just on the onset, like I mentioned before, for our multi-bin customers, is multi-bin lives and breathes directly inside of Sage across all different modules. But the one we're going to focus on today mainly is the sales order module. So when it comes to allocating, there's a couple of different ways to do it. So I'll bring up an example of the sales order real quick, and we'll talk about that. So from a sales order side, once you start creating your sales order, there's a couple of different ways to do this. So that you can either allocate by pushing this button, which we get to there, or there's some override functionality. So what do I mean by allocate? So let's go ahead and bring up an item. So an allocation, basically, there's two ways to do an allocation. There's either the scanner user picking the item up on the floor and moving it to a bin location. That's what we kind of call like a soft allocation. It's really a bin transfer. So you're taking it from its primary, a home location, and moving it to a staging location, such as shipping or truck or whatever you want to call it. There's also allocating on the sales order side. There's two ways to do that. There's the manual way, which if you're doing smaller orders, it's okay. But the auto way is a more preferred method because it goes based on different settings. So when you're manually allocating, there's a little lot distribution table up here with multi-bin. If you click on that, it's going to bring up the lot distribution table once I enter a quantity. It's going to bring up the lot distribution table. And you have the ability to allocate it to a specific pallet or bin location. So think of this as a hard allocation. Better example is if I'm making a reservation at a restaurant, I'm not only reserving a specific time, but a specific table at a restaurant. That's what we call a hard allocation. So what that does is actually on the inventory management side, we'll go back here real quick. If I bring my multi-bin dashboard up, you'll actually get to see from a high-level overview, your inventory is broken down into on hand, allocated, and available. The available quantity is the difference between on hand, less allocated. So now you have a tighter control over what inventory you actually do have, so you have the ability to fulfill orders, meet customer demand, and actually know what you have. And it helps with demand projection too, because if you're actually looking at that I literally don't have enough of something, I can actually put an order in. But without better controlling it, doing it this way, you might randomly start ordering stuff because you might walk on the floor, see it's missing a bin location, assume that you don't have it, and go order it when really, in reality, it just moves in a different location without tracking it properly. So back on this side, on the sales order side, I had the manual way of doing it, or based on different settings, you can hit the allocate button, which goes off the settings already preset, either by hitting the allocate button or auto saving it. It'll allocate during saving, hitting the allocate button, or printing a pick sheet if you still want to use the paper method. Nothing wrong with paper. It's a nice segue into going full paperless if you have to, but that ability still exists. And we'll print those bin locations directly on that pick sheet. So going through the allocation overrides, you can allocate based on several different ways. So you can override it or have preset ways. It'll allocate to a specific bin location. If you're using lot or serial tracking, you can actually allocate by FIFO. Now FIFO can go off the expiration date or by when that product was received into that bin location. And then you can override too by going to primary, pick areas, overflows, etc., and rank them first through fifth or etc. Now, a couple of nice things to do this is you can either allocate to a bin location and pull completely, or allocate to several different bin locations, so primary and then some maybe a rollover section. So using the allocations allows you to better direct your employees where to go to pick. Now, one of the really advanced functions, this is one of my favorite, is wave batch. So on the sales order side, this kind of goes back to the grouping of sales orders we talked about earlier. So on the wave batch side, it's on the sales order and then wave batch. So wave batch is basically a grouping of orders together into a single different pick. Now, you can allocate different ways and group orders different ways. So let's go through some of those options. So a wave batch is allowing me to group a single order that has hundreds of line items on it, or I can group many orders together with smaller items, etc. There's a couple different ways to do that. So one of the ways is to do you can do standard orders. You can look at all back orders. You can look at customers on hold. Again, all kinds of different settings. We even have an unintended option that as orders are coming in, it's going to start bundling them together in a group batch based on, you have the ability to pick the numbers of orders per batch, number of batches to create, and then even going in next level, this allows you to have multiple employees pick a single order or multiple orders by splitting them. This is a nice functionality, especially I have a lot of customers that have a single order that might have 100, 200 line items on it. Having one person go pick that is a full-time job and a full-time day that you really can't afford to do. So you might want to have additional employees on that. So the nice ability is you can actually split that batch up by either region, location type, number of lines, warehouse, or an order route. We actually go off of the bin codes or smart logic inside of Sage, but allows you to go by sort code. So you can actually, like a true, IKEA warehouse where it's A1, A2, A3, A4, you can actually go by sort code, so we can allow you to pick by that. You can actually default to number of orders, back orders, etc. And this is a cool function, turn back orders to ship complete. So now we're living in the state of back orders for a lot of customers. One of the things we get asked all the time is my customers want the initial shipment, but how do I control all the other shipments for them? So maybe customer A wants anything you have now, and then the rest of the shipment he wants on one order. So instead of receiving 6 or 7 or 8 different orders sometimes, you can give them 2, the initial, and then if anything's back order ship complete, it's going to look for all the availabilities to ship that order complete. And if it's not, it's going to hold off on it. Now, a couple different things. This actually does order fill rate. So what is order fill rate or priority? So inside of multi-bin, you can actually set different UDS. You can actually rank customers based on priority. So your A customers, your B customers, C customers, etc. Rank them by priority and then filter those orders out to find them that way. Another functionality is by fill rate. So if I'm creating a new wave batch, for instance, you can actually search by orders between different ranges and different fill rates. So the fill rate you can set between a lower percentage and all the way to 100%. So it's going to go in your Sage system and find all the open sales orders that exist and what capability you can fill them. You can fill them 100%, 50%, 25%, and then filter out those orders into those groups, hence a wave batch or a group order. And then you can go by promise date, and then any one of these other fields is searchable. So order, warehouse, customer, ship via, etc. Cool thing about this is I have a lot of customers that have specific UDS on the sales order header level. Case in point, I had one customer that just onboarded recently using Wave Batch. Before they were using Wave Batch, they're a tire company. So they would actually have 3 different types of baskets at the warehouse. They'd have a customer pickup section, a delivery section, and then a shipment section. So they would deliver, customers would pick up, etc. One person, 8 hours a day, would take the orders, print them out, and then go by the little UDF that they had printed on the pick sheet and go filter them in the basket. That was way too long. So by having that UDF, you're actually able to search those orders by prior. So they had customer time. So when the order was placed before a certain time or after a certain time, that's when it was picked, day of or day after. And then they would do a search for type. So pickup, delivery, or ship. And you can actually search those out, group those orders together, and away you go. So once I select my orders, just like I did by hitting the select button, it's going to go off of any of the settings I have here. It's going to bring them up here, and then I'm going to choose which orders I want and hit the allocate button. It's that simple. So now it's going to take all the quantity allocated, quantity to allocate, and it's going to find them all and allocate it. And then away we go. So grouping orders together, either by wave batch or doing a self-allocation individual orders, we give you a bunch of different ways to do it. So going on the handheld, I'll go ahead and bring that up, and I'll walk you through the different types that we have here on the handheld. Sorry, bring back up my screen there and give me a second here. There we go. Sorry about that. Took a second to log back in there. All right, so on the handheld, there's various different ways to do it. So let me log back in here, get connected. There we go. So I'm using the desktop version. I apologize, but my Air server is not working for my AirPlay all of a sudden. So iOS difficulty, but we'll move ahead. So the desktop version is very similar to the warehouse, the mobile application version. So we'll just run through this way. So out of the box, we're mimicking exactly the modules that are inside of Sage. So item inquiry, receiving, transfers, et cetera. But we're going to dive into the shipping. The shipping lives in two different areas, either under the little shipping truck or the picking. So let's talk through the different picking applications. So wave pick, order pick, and quick pick. These are all picks for orders that have been non-allocated. That means you have not allocated the multi-bin side. You're choosing which orders you want to pick. It still takes you through a directed pick, but it's going to go in ascending or descending order based on your bin location setup. Wave picking allows me to group multiple orders together. I hit enter, I choose the warehouse I'm picking, the bin I'm going to stage them into, and then I simply hit a lookup or scan, and if I'm bringing them in, it's going to show me all my open orders inside the stage that I have the ability to choose from, and I can group them that way. Moving back to picking, order picking is single order directed picking, so I'm doing one order at a time, still staging it. Quick picking is non-directed. So case in point, I have a lot of customers that have a specific section of the warehouse for smaller orders. Hundreds of orders a day they're doing, but they're smaller orders, one or two items. So they have a couple people in the quick pick section. It's like an octopus picking. Arms going all over the place. They're scanning items, putting in boxes, and shoving them down the line to be shipped. Confirm picks is going to work off of allocated orders that I've allocated already from multi-bin on the sales order side inside of Sage. And I have the ability to go different ways based on that. Now, when you get to the second scan, you have a couple different ways to do that. You can either scan it to ship it. So I'm scanning every single line item again the second time. You can skip over the allocated bin that you've already allocated it to for picking, or you can rescan the bin a second time. Completely up to you. That's under the shipping functionality. Invoicing, we also have directed shipping or something that allows you to go direct to invoice. So these are all directed shipping, but it's going straight to ship. It's a single scan instead of a double scan like picking. And if I don't want to have to scan every single line item again, but I still want that functionality of scanning and making sure that it went out the door, I can either use invoice picked or ship picked. This is going to scan a sales order that has been picked already. So if I accidentally came across a sales order that was not picked, it will not appear and it'll error out and not let me do it. So this is only for picked orders, and it sends them right down to invoicing date entry or shipping date entry. And lastly, we had the wave badge functionality that works off the wave badge that we created inside of Sage. And then I did mention before about the dashboard functionality. So if you know about Scanco, we have a dashboard that sits externally outside of the system that lets you keep track of analytics and lets you see everything inside the Sage. So it's like our multi-bin dashboard, but it shows not only Sage data, but it's also going to show you user transactions and what user was doing what and how. Some of the new functionality we just added for those that do have wave batch and have our dashboard is we do allow you to assign out wave batches to users. Before, it was just orders to be shipped, picked, or received. Now we have wave batches, and it also will assign out splits too. So if you have a wave batch split into 5 different lines or 5 different sections, you can assign those out to 5 different people and let them pick. So we just recently added this functionality as well. It was asked for, it made sense, our development team added it, and we're super excited to have it. It's a great handy tool. So finally, we're going to go ahead and get into some Q&A here. So a couple questions that had just come across is, can I pick without multi-bin? Certainly. We're allowing you to pick without multi-bin. That's not an issue. You're going to be staging to a staging location versus an actual staging bin. However, the ability to have multi-bin is as a granular activity, and it's very easy to implement on the 30,000 foot view, and is better recommended. How do we get a hold of PSG? So great way. So the best way to do it is contact myself, Ross at Scanco.com, and we'll go ahead and set up a discovery call for you guys at the end, and we can set up, I have a couple actually lined up today. So happy to set up a 30-minute discovery call with myself, yourself, and our professional services team, so we can kind of get a better understanding of what your needs are, so we can put together a proper statement of work. And lastly, you mentioned handhelds. Can I also use tablets? So yes. So we work across iOS, Android, and as you saw, Windows desktops if you want to be at a desktop computer and use that, or any Windows tablet, so to speak. But the whole idea is to scan barcodes to make things simplistic. We're a big proponent of Zebra scanners. Not only have we, do they work, but they're a bull. They will go through and work anytime, every time. The barcodes, the images are phenomenal. But they do have tablet options now that they are starting to release. So that's something to think about as well. If you do want something a little bit bigger or larger to work off of, especially the management team, Zebra does offer tablets to scan with, but we always like something that fits in the palm of your hand. So if you want to talk about any of those things with me, feel free to hit me up or anybody in our sales.